Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Friday, and a happy Friday it is with this latest Supreme Court ruling. I am joined today by John Doyle, Belize TV contributor and host of Heck Off Commie, to go through. You know, I'm just used to every day I wake up and there's another rogue judge that is blocking President Trump's agenda, is blocking the reason that Americans overwhelmingly voted for him to come back to office and save America. And you've got all these rogue judges who are trying to prevent him from doing that. But I woke up this morning and it was different for now.
Yeah, well, you know.
For now. I'm not saying I'm white-pilled. I'm not saying
I'm white-pilled. You can be a storm cloud if you want. Today, I get to be the tallest and most handsome guy on the panel. So it's not all bad.
Well, just wait for the next segment.
Yeah, I know. I'll enjoy it. I'll enjoy it while I have it.
So the Supreme Court has issued an immigration ruling that clears the way for the Trump administration to revoke the legal status of somewhat 500,000 foreign nationals who came into the United States under Joe Biden's parole program. So these are mostly Latin American countries, and it was a 7-2 ruling, which was interesting to me. So you had Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sonia Sotomayor, who, of course, dissented, which means that Elena Kagan actually agreed with the conservatives that Donald Trump, as the commander-in-chief, as the highest executive in the land, has the ability to decide, yeah, you know what? We shouldn't have let you guys in the first place, and we're just going to deport you. And that was actually shocking to me, John.
Yeah, my like tinfoil hat on these kinds of things is that they give us a bone every now and then just so that we don't completely like write off the institution as a whole. Because right now, the popular sentiment for Trump supporters is quite refreshingly just like, oh, let's just ignore the Supreme Court. It's invalid. They're overreaching their power, obviously. But then they'll give us something like this every now and then where it's like they obviously, you know, can't say that these 500,000 people should stay in the country. And so it kind of gives people permission to be like, okay, maybe the Supreme Court's not totally bad. Maybe they're not tyrants. Maybe we're not ruled by this like, you know, tyrannical judiciary. And then they still will go and block, you know, 9 out of the other 10 Trump actions or something. And so thank you. Yes, for doing your job, I guess. But I'm not letting them off the hook completely.
No, of course not. Especially with the, I don't know, squishiness of Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, you look at it and remember when we got these judges in and conservatives were like, we got the majority. And it's like, you got Amy Coney Barrett, who turns out she's a feminist, I guess, broken by Trump, clearly, because any ruling that involves him specifically, she rules the wrong way, typically, aside from this. You've got John Roberts, who, are you confident in John Roberts' conservatism? I'm not.
Yeah.
Even Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah, this is like the problem, frankly, with allowing like social conservatives to dictate what the right views as morality. And I'm very socially conservative. I'm as socially conservative as the next guy. I'm sure most of us are. But when you do that, and that's like your metric for how well someone's going to do their job as a judge, you get somebody like Amy Coney Barrett, where it's like, okay, yes, she's, you know, Catholic. She expresses herself as pro-life. Wow, she's just like us. And it turns out that's not actually the case. And as much as I'm happy that, yeah, she did her job and she overturned Roe, I like unironically believe that the reason that was allowed to happen after 50 years was simply because the establishment needed every weapon it could muster in its arsenal against Trump in 2024. And in 2022, Republicans did have, you know, disappointing performance because of things like abortion, which we may not like this, but it does happen to be a mobilizing issue for the country. It gets Democrats to turn out. Sometimes it's off-putting to independents. And so, you know, if we're being schizophrenic today, I think that that's like why, and I'm happy that it, you know, was overturned, but I really do believe that the reason they did the right thing that one time, finally, was because ultimately they wanted to use it to harm Trump, who does represent the only path we have for actually disrupting the way that the establishment tends to govern.
Yeah. So you've got that going on. And then you've also got the Democrats on this particular issue of illegal immigration. You've got the Democrats who, I honestly think that Donald Trump broke them. It will be really interesting to me to see how they navigate their way through life after President Trump is out of office, because like this is their entire personality. Their entire identity is like, I hate Donald Trump, orange man, bad. And so it makes them say the most ridiculous things, including this latest, like, ICE is Gestapo. Is the latest. You've got several Democrat lawmakers who are ICE is just like Gestapo, and it's like, oh my gosh, you like, this is not a winning policy for you guys. This is not winning rhetoric for you guys. Do you ever want to win another election again? Let's watch some of them.
This is Gestapo-like behavior, where plainclothes officers wearing masks are terrorizing immigrants who are doing the right thing by going to court, following up on their immigration proceedings, and trying to come into this country lawfully, which is through asylum. I'm also, as a Jew, very familiar with the Gestapo.
Are you?
In Nazi Germany.
Are you?
And other forms of secret law enforcement in Russia and elsewhere that used fear and intimidation and under the cover of night, under the cover of masks, in order to terrorize people that they did not like.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
Is that Tim Walz?
They're in unmarked vans wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons.
Looks like a wizard.
No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye. Just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared.
Oh, no. All right, Dumbledore. So, yeah, I just can't. Is there any country, maybe there is in Europe, but I can't think of, any of these, China, even these Latin American countries. Like, would they tolerate illegals just flooding into their streets, and then the people of the land are going to be like, oh my God, we're getting rid of these illegals? This is like Gestapo behavior. Like, nobody who takes themselves seriously would ever say something so stupid. And yet here you are, you've got multiple people, high-ranking people in the Democrat Party, who think that line is going to work.
Yeah, and even at the cultural level, I remember there were articles not too long ago where you had these like transplants from America moving to do remote work in like Mexico City, and the locals were like, "Go away, gringo! We don't want you. Like, you're ruining everything." And so like this idea of preserving, the country as it is not something that America invented. We actually seem to have invented the opposite, where we think that we can just open the borders and sustain what we recognize to be in America. So yeah, I think you're completely right. He had some comment, I think, when he was speaking. He almost appeared like he was going to say who are trying to do the right thing. Like, it almost sounded like he was going to say who are here legally, but then he realized that's not true. And so then it had to just be, they're trying to do the right thing. And it's like, look, dude, they're obviously here in the country illegally. I don't care if you've like taught them, oh, if you just check a box that says you're looking for asylum, then they have to. It's like this cheat code. They have to give it to you. Asylum is supposed to be like, I don't know, war-torn country. You go to the next neighboring country. Literally, even through that legal process, which I disagree with, you are not allowed to seek asylum by traveling through other countries just to get to the one that you really want to go to, because it'd be a little bit nicer there. What do they say? Beggars don't get to be choosers. Why do you get to seek asylum if your country is just incapable of creating civilization? I'd get it if you're like, a Finn, and then Russia invades and messes everything up, and you're like, I can't do a good accent, but I got to go live in wherever. But these countries are like normal. I mean, you understand what I mean? Like, they're bad because they're those countries, but it's not like a meteor hit. Like, I'm sorry you don't know how to make America great again, but we need to like keep you out, because you're gonna bring that lack of making America great again to America, and we don't want that.
Right, because they want to come to America to steal from our system. They want to leech off of our resources, but they don't intend to do anything to change their culture to fit in with ours. And that's what's, I think, so frustrating. Honestly, legal or illegal. Yeah. At this point, that's where I'm at. Is just like, I'm going to get a little bit personal, but I'm not going to give away any sort of identifying information. But Stephen and I live in a neighborhood that has been like completely infiltrated by foreigners. And this is a nice neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like all foreigners.
Let's turn the heat up. What kind? What fields do you think they're working in? IT, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I took my dog for a walk through a neighborhood the other night, and let's just say I am understanding what you are seeing. And it's nothing against these people.
No.
But it's, as an American, and you're walking through what Norman Rockwell told you is supposed to be like, suburbs with kids outside playing, but they're kids who don't speak your language or who are foreign. And I had this moment, this is like, almost made me a liberal. It almost got me. Because I was walking, I got a 100-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback, and I'm walking him through this neighborhood, and this quartet of little immigrant girls ran up to me, and they were so sweet, and they were like, "Excuse me, sir, do you want to try some Indian food?" And they've had this like little bag, and I was just kind of like, oh, and then my dog just like immediately tried to kill them. And I was like, oh, sorry, yeah, he's not friendly. I was walking away, and he kind of like looked at me, and I understood what he was saying. He was like, get it together, dude. Like, recognize the stakes. Harden your heart. We are being invaded legally. We don't have time to do this whole try our like cuisine.
Right.
So he understood it. He's a good dog.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, I don't have a problem with legal immigration when you want to assimilate and you want to be part of the American culture, the American dream. Like, our friend who's going to be on here next, Matt Marsden, right? Yeah. Jaco Booyens. I mean, these are people who, by the way, some of the most patriotic people that I know are legal immigrants, because they knew how important it was to come here and be part of this. And, they're like, walking around in masks in my neighborhood, and like I'm just like I don't like this at all. Like outside for like lap after lap after lap, all masked up and all this, and I'm just like, can you please just go?
Yeah,
just
and
go.
Like a guy like Jaco or Matt, like there are obviously differences between countries of origin and cultures, but ultimately like the differences between how like an Afrikaner or an Australian and a Englishman, how they would view how society ought to be structured. While those differences do exist, and they used to cause a lot of problems and wars, when you zoom out to see what those differences look like when compared to the differences between us and people who are 15,000 miles away, or how like those are much larger differences. And so, these people are coming from cultures that have no intention of assimilating. They're incompatible with ours, and they know that, which is why when they come into the country, they just establish beachheads. They only hire each other. They practice nepotism. They buy houses and then rent them out, and so now American families can't own homes. It's just all sorts of problems.
Yeah. And then they don't speak English. And I'm like, I'm just trying to communicate with you as my neighbor, and I can't. And I'm in America, and that shouldn't happen. That's all I have to say. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back with more. I want to remind you guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Hit the like button as well. It'll help us out in the algorithm. Comment, do all the things. That's all. Just do all the things. And then when you're commenting, say, Sarah, I did all the things. Okay, so then I'll know. And then we want to thank our sponsor, Preborn. And I'm so frustrated because I would like to get updated numbers. You guys have been killing it trying to get to 600 ultrasounds. I haven't gotten updated numbers. So I don't know if, I don't know. I would imagine that we blew it out of the water. But just in case, we need good news. Next week, I'm going to find out the number, but we are trying to get to 600 ultrasounds with Preborn, okay? Preborn is literally saving babies' lives. A mother is coming in with an unplanned pregnancy. She's scared. She doesn't know what to do. And Preborn is there showing her the truth. This is your baby. Here it is, right here inside of you. God has entrusted you with this baby, and you can't kill it, all right? That's what Preborn is doing. It is so important, but ultrasounds cost money, $28. To be precise. Okay, $28 is the cost of an ultrasound. We're trying to get to 600. Again, I don't have updated numbers. I will next week, but let's make sure that we blow it out of the water. We are so close. Okay, go to preborn.com/Sarah, $28. That's all I'm asking you for. If every single person donates $28, we're going to blow this thing out of the water. Preborn.com/Sarah. Welcome to the show, Matthew Marsden, Blaze TV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, who we were just talking about. It was all good, though.
I hope so.
You didn't hear us?
I didn't hear it.
We were talking about immigrants assimilating. And because I said, you know what, even if you're a legal immigrant, I don't like it if you come here and you're not going to speak our language and 100%. You're going to carry on your weird ass customs I don't like it. And so we were talking about you and Jaco being some of the good guys.
Yeah, well, we appreciate
Yep.
these things. We appreciate the country and everything that it's given us.
Yeah, Sarah, I mean, she started getting a little colorful there with her language. She said something like, they're one of the good ones. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean good ones?
No, I don't think I did. Oh, maybe I did. I don't know.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about a Supreme Court win, an actual win. We'll take the victories where we can. We'll take the W's where we can because the judicial system is totally. Here's an example of that, all right? The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals just ruled that a spa run by Korean Christian women must service biological men posing as, of course, transgender women. So this particular spa, this is called Olympus Spa, and it is supposed to be a women-only spa. Have you guys ever gone to a Korean spa?
I was hoping you were
It's
going
like-
to say that. Have you guys ever gone to a women-only spa? Because the answer would
No,
be
well, no. But there are spas. I've never been to one. It's very intimidating where like everyone's just totally naked. Just totally naked. Have you ever?
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
There is an appeal.
Oh!
Not Korean, but like you look at like, and this is again, you can't have this in America. Let me just preface this by I've got my shields up. You can hate on me if you want. It's good for the algorithm. We're unfiltered. This is the
It's true.
unfiltered.
This
If you
is
want to go watch
very
the filtered
unfiltered.
show, you can go watch the filtered show.
Go somewhere else to watch the filtered show, not here. All right, let's go ahead and take. This is funny. It's like that we're exactly how we are in real life. This is just
What do you
us
mean, John?
hanging
John,
out.
hold on.
All right, let's take our sponsor, First Liberty. So they've got a religious freedom alert for you. Check this out. Connecticut's New Britain School District is punishing a dedicated teacher simply for her faith. This is Marisol Arroyo Castro. For 30 years, she has been teaching, and now she's banished from the classroom because she refused to remove a small cross from her personal space, which, by the way, had been hanging by her desk for a decade. And last December, without warning, administrators confronted her and said, you're going to remove the cross or you're going to have punishment for insubordination. And she said, I'm not doing it. They removed her from the classroom. They suspended her. They demoted her, and they smeared her in the media. Now, First Liberty has decided to take this on. And this isn't just about one teacher. It's about protecting religious freedom for all of us. So please go show your support for Marisol and religious liberty. Okay. We're asking you to sign the petition. That's all you need to do. Go sign the petition to tell the New Britain School District to stop this discrimination over at firstliberty.org/Sarah. It is firstliberty.org/Sarah. John, you said you wanted to add one last thing to that.
Was it to do with the flex or like?
No, and that's what's funny about it too is
He wants to just be on
He
camera
wants to do.
again.
Look, he's like that. He's like.
I'm going to be watching your arm though
being
the rest of the
self-deprecating.
time.
I'm like explaining why I thought it was so funny because I'm not like a big guy or whatever, and so you guys are talking about child abuse, and I'm like sick, like just anyway. Speaking of child abuse, there was an example, a pretty tragic example from my old neighborhood.
Oh, good. We're cutting straight to tragic after that. All right, go.
Let's go to misery.
Okay.
A lot of times when people talk about politics, I think that they're just playing with action figures where they say, oh, and then this happens, and then if this guy would do this, it'd be like so cool. And it's just like not living in the real world. People often say like, oh, well, if everyone would just do, no one is ever going to just. Like you kind of have to understand human nature, meet people where they are. And so I agree with what you guys are saying about the social media problem. I don't know if I would want to say, you know, kids can't be on social media in general, only because right now I think it's a good tool because you see all these like young men are getting frankly radicalized by us and the content that we put on social media, which is a good way of disrupting sort of like the liberal narrative predominance. But I would say that we need to make sure that like people can't groom online or on social media because it's all public. And so they could go after those things. And the example I would provide for parents simply not being tuned in enough to sort of like the cultural differences between, you know, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and maybe Gen X, Boomer generation. My old scoutmaster, I won't say his name, but he was a real man's man, great guy. Everybody loved him. And now if you drive by his house, he has on display a pride flag because his son ended up becoming gay and then eventually discovering that he was actually a girl. And this poor guy, I mean, you're just getting totally blindsided by all these cultural trends, which are completely just like alien to you. You don't understand it. And so it's like you're put into a corner where, okay, do you have your son cut you off or do you put the stupid flag outside? I don't agree with the choice he made, but also I'm not going to, you know, say that I don't sort of empathize with that because you've grown up and your brain has solidified in a completely different country. And it never would have occurred to you to monitor your son's internet access because maybe, you know, he's going to come across cartel videos or porn. Sure. But the idea that people would be reaching out to him, trying to groom him, just to get off on it, just to be like a sadist, is just something that like a normal person would not expect that kind of evil to exist in the world.
Would they not, though?
I don't know. I wish they would. I mean, I understand that this audience is a vigilant one, so I'm not saying they don't get it. But imagine like the skills of the average American parent. You need people who know what's going on and know that these things are threats to American children to step in, frankly, from the top down and prevent it from happening. Because I just don't trust the vigilance of the average parent to be able to protect their kids from these things. Because
then you do agree with the social media ban.
Yes, yeah, I directionally agree with what you guys are saying, because by the time everyone understands this threat 10, 15 years from now, it's like you said, the generation's already ruined, and now you don't have sons and daughters anymore, you have Z's and Zems. So.
Well, I remember watching Glenn do a whole, do you remember the episode he did where he spoke about his
Yes,
son?
I watch every single Glenn Beck episode. Yes, which one?
Okay, the one where his son was talking to someone on his PlayStation. Did you ever see that one? That, I mean, this is quite some time ago, and the guy was grooming Glenn's son.
Yeah.
And I was like, so there's nobody more vigilant than that guy, right? So it's just sometimes you can't be everywhere all the time.
That's true. But that's why my son does not have access to the outside world on his. He only has a
understand
Nintendo,
that, but-
and all of the chat features are turned off.
But Sarah, listen, the problem is, you know, like for example, we're very hyper vigilant with that, with my 1,000 kids. But when my son was
Someone
swimming,
needs to tell him what causes that. He doesn't
I
know.
still don't know. Do you
1,000
know?
kids?
What causes children? He just keeps having them.
Oh, I thought it was because he's British, and so the instinct to spread the empire is still there.
There is that as well.
The sun won't set on it, yeah.
But my son would, like, you know, we had him in a religious school, and we were very vigilant with him, and then he would go to a swim team.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, you're sitting there and he would be separate from all them, but again, it makes him a bit of a pariah, but he doesn't care because he's that guy. He's like, I'll do what I'm going to do. But all you got to do is look over the shoulder of someone who's got a phone, and the majority of the kids' parents, they don't care. They shove them on the screens and push them away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is it's a real problem. And by the way, talking about the boomers and the Gen X as well, a lot of people just think, well, I have Facebook and I go through it like this. Yeah. They don't see this group. They have this cognitive dissonance about this grooming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but and I mean, I think we're saying the same thing, but the only place that I would clarify with what you said is that I don't disagree with you that the outside world is going to influence them to a certain degree. So you have to make sure to raise your child in such a way that you're talking to them and they know, and, you know, so that they know what to do with that information should they run across it. And I agree with that. But at the same time, I think that a lot of lazy parents feel like that gives them permission to just say, well, they're going to find out about it anyway. Because I've heard that from a lot of parents. I mean, they've all got social media. They're going to find out about it anyway. And I'm like, not my kid.
Yeah,
and
you got to delay it as long as you can.
Well, right. Like, it is your job as the parent to protect them from any of that for as long as possible, regardless of how hard it is, regardless of what anyone else is doing, regardless of the fact that they're going to go out to, you know, football or swim or whatever, and they may run across it. But that doesn't mean you just give yourself permission to just be like, oh, well.
That's
oh,
why,
well.
Like, you know, looking at the generational equivalent of like a Playboy or something is one thing, but being targeted specifically by these grooming networks who are all collecting government checks. They're all on disability. Quite often they get free rent even, and they basically exist to hang out all day. They say they're depressed and so they can't work, and they hang out on Twitter, on Discord, and all they do is like groom kids and talk about their gender identities and things like that. And so the amount of people who are really pushing this in terms of like the grunts, it's probably like 10,000 people. In the same way that, you know, we were censored for 5 years or something for expressing opinions to the right of Hillary Clinton, you could so easily censor people who are trying to target kids in that way. And it would be justified because it's not like a different idea. It's deliberately malicious and confusing, and it's targeting children. It's child abuse. Mm-hmm. We should censor and persecute child abuse, and then it can go away, and your kids can have a relatively normal upbringing, though it may be different from yours because there's more technology, and you wouldn't have to worry so much as normal parents about that kind of thing getting inside their head.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor this segment, The Last Rodeo by Angel Studios. If you guys don't have any weekend plans, I've got your plans right here. Okay, this is the same team behind King of Kings, Sound of Freedom. This is their latest, The Last Rodeo. And what's great about Angel Studios films is like what we're talking about, all of the subtle, trying to indoctrinate your children, trying to indoctrinate anyone. It's a family-friendly movie. There's not going to be any subtle indoctrination. There's not going to be any like trans storyline. It's just going to be family-friendly, woke-free content. This is their latest. I encourage you guys to go check it out. Everyone who has talked to me about it has loved the movie. I've been reading y'all's comments on YouTube. There are a lot of you who are talking about they love it. So make sure, go order your tickets. You can check showtimes near you, all that over at angel.com/Sarah. That is angel.com/Sarah. Well, Joe Biden had an unfortunate oopsies. He is the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to just like, hey, this guy was a vegetable the entire time that he was president, and now you guys finally want to admit some of it. Well, Joe Biden, I guess, is admitting it himself. Here he was today speaking to a CNN reporter.
And there's also been a lot of discussion recently about your mental and physical capabilities while you were in office.
You can see that. I'm mentally incompetent and I can't walk and I can beat the hell out of both of them.
Well, do you want to reply to any of those reports and also to the fact that there are some Democrats who are now questioning whether you should have run for re-election in the first place?
Why didn't they run against me then?
You dropped.
Because I'd have beaten them.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't.
You dropped. He forgot he dropped out. He forgot he dropped out. He forgot he dropped out. But now we have on the record Joe Biden admitting he is in fact mentally incompetent. Thank you, Joe.
There is an hourglass somewhere that none of us know about, but it is draining sand until this guy says a word about Kamala Harris. I mean, if you look at like his old statements and like the things he used to say about it's only a matter of time before he's like, just has a little bit of a gamer moment there.
Do you know who called him out on that? Was Kamala Harris when she ran for president and got like 1% of the vote and was one of the first people to have to drop out. That was one of her better moments on the debate stage, was calling him out for being a total freaking racist. And then he ended up making her vice president. I
think that he should just like do patriots a favor. Like, we'll forgive him if he just tosses a frag grenade in the Democrat Party and just takes like a really just like racist news hit that allows for Democrats to be like, look, this is what the old party represents. We need to go full Jasmine Crockett because obviously like the old white men are not doing things properly. And then we can just run against AOC, Jasmine Crockett, maybe Kamala Harris again. Why not? And then we can win and then America's fixed.
Well, I think
we don't have anybody else.
I think that what a lot of people that watch this show do not really appreciate is that not only do you have an effigy of Donald Trump, you have one of Joe Biden, and you are pointing at it all the way through. Can we see that? Look, it's right there. It's right directly in front of me. It's the potted plant.
There it is.
That plant has got a higher IQ than that man. Come on, man.
It's I'm trying to think of the right word to use because it's not shocking. We watched it all happen. It's honestly, it should go down as one of the most egregious scandals in American history. That man, they propped him up for all of that time, pretended like he was making the decisions. And we all knew that he wasn't, and nobody would admit it. And now, in an epic gaslighting form, they're like, oh yeah, it turns out that he wasn't all there. It's like, oh my God, we were just saying that the whole time. Now all of a sudden you want to tell us that?
But you're a conspiracy theorist for saying that. Even though he fell over with his feet still in the stirrups of his bike, it's like, timber! Can't even talk. Do you remember that? And you're like, what? And they're like, he is the smartest president ever. In fact, he's more smart. He's smarter than Abraham Lincoln.
No, Karine Jean-Pierre literally said, I have trouble keeping up with him. He's so sly and
he's probably true.
Yeah, she may have been telling the truth there.
Y'all are like, well, she did lie a lot, but that might be the one thing that she was correct about just because she's retarded and gay, literally. She is gay and retarded, literally. But I mean, it really is egregious that obviously that was an oopsies that he had, but it just goes to show, like, it's so egregious. He pardoned people. There were so many things that he did. Those of you who are listening on audio podcasts, the air quotes are coming out for that one. There are so many things that he did that, like, we've got to re-examine all of it and see what we can peel back and undo, because that can never happen again. I know I talk about it all the time, but it's like, we have to go through these mechanisms and figure out what the hell happened, who all knew, and like, there has to be justice for that.
Yeah, you learn about Richard Nixon in school like he's Judas or something, because there was an orchestrated attempt to remove him from office, and he was like, oh, shoot, we probably don't want this getting out. And they're like, you said that you didn't want us to, and now he's like, an evil person in the eyes of the American public. But we had 4 years of what? Who was pulling the string? I mean, it's like you said, we need, as Jaco would be comfortable with, we need our own Truth and Reconciliation Committee to figure out what happened and to put these people in positions where they can never even approximate touching the levers of power again.
Yeah.
But again, what gets me as well is they say, oh, he's the greatest president, he was amazing, and oh, do you miss him yet, and all this. And then they turn around and say, in the same breath, this is the left, they'll go, Elon Musk is stupid and corrupt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hang on a minute. The richest man in the world, who is
could be corrupt, isn't, but could be.
It could be
corrupt and rich.
But here's the thing: he's not taking money from the federal government to go and cut.
Right.
The whole thing was to cut waste and.
Yeah, I also think if you're the richest man in the world, you're not stupid.
Probably.
Like, there are decisions that you've had to make along the way that were good decisions, which means you're not stupid.
But he's doing it in tech as well. He's doing it in a highly technical field where you have to have a brain. Yeah. It's not like you're an actor and you made a ton of money and then you went to do it. But
I mean, just for what it's worth, these are coming from AOC and Jasmine Crockett, some of the dumbest people out there. So take that with a grain of salt. See you guys Monday.